everybody. This is my review for Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man. So, this movie's actually been kind of divisive. From what I can tell among fans, people are pretty split on it, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I actually really enjoyed this movie. I started watching Peaky Blinders about 2 months ago, so I had never seen the series before then. I really enjoyed the first 4 seasons. Fifth and sixth seasons kind of fell off a little bit for me, but I still did enjoy them. So that's the sort of fan perspective I'm coming at this from. And I think the biggest conversation to be had surrounding The Immortal Man is whether or not it should have just been a seventh season of Peaky Blinders. And I think there's an argument to be made that it should have been, because parts of this movie definitely do feel rushed. That's one complaint I totally understand about it. It's tough to know if this ever was supposed to be a seventh season or if this was always going to be a movie. I know Stephen Knight has said that the sixth season was going to be the last season, especially after the death of Helen McCrory, who played Polly in the series. But despite wishing that there was more time in between the plot beats of this movie, I still really enjoyed it. Obviously, the acting across the board is pretty incredible. Cillian Murphy always kills it as Tommy Shelby, but Barry Keoghan holds his own, and Rebecca Ferguson did pretty well too. Cillian Murphy just has a different type of screen presence in this role, and he always really has. In terms of the story, though, like I said, I do like a lot of what was going on here, even if I wish there was some more time in between the plot beats to let them breathe. I am now going to get into spoiler territory. The backdrop of Peaky Blinders was always the rise of fascism, so to see that come to a head in Tommy going up against Nazis was pretty cool. And obviously one of the bigger conversations surrounding this film is how the deaths of certain characters were executed. A lot of people have been upset regarding the death of Arthur and how that was handled, but honestly, I think it does make sense. Yes, Tommy and Arthur were tight, they loved each other, but at a certain point, I think you can see in the series that Arthur is wearing thin on Tommy, and the burden of his drug addiction and everything is starting to get to Tommy. So his death sort of makes sense to me. I think it adds up, really. Ada's death is incredibly shocking in the moment, and it's the thing that brings Tommy back into the fold for real. Obviously, in the film, he was coming back, but on the way, he realizes that Ada was dead, and that's the plot device that really brings him back into the criminal world of the Peaky Blinders. Tommy's relationship with Duke is interesting, but I think that is the element of the film that suffers the most from this being a movie and not a seventh series. It does feel a bit rushed, and Duke's redemption arc is a little bit too fast. This movie really does have some great scenes, though. There's one that was in the marketing pretty heavily, and that's the scene where Tommy comes back into the Garrison pub and he has a confrontation with a soldier, and it is pure Peaky Blinders, man. That one scene is incredibly executed. Tommy drops a grenade into this guy's shirt and the guy runs out, and it's just Cillian Murphy and the character of Tommy Shelby commanding the screen and the room, and it's an incredible scene. And the other scene, in the days that since I've watched this film, I couldn't get out of my head, was the ending, Tommy's funeral scene. Before that, I should probably discuss Tommy's actual death, which I also think makes total sense. Tommy is, throughout the series, kind of looking for an excuse to die, right? Towards the end of season 2, we see him on death's doorstep, gun to his head, and when he gets saved, his reaction isn't quite happiness or sadness, it's somewhere in between. So I think that him seeing the chance to die fighting Nazis, taking down a fascist plot, and he sees that chance, he grabs hold of it, and it becomes his excuse to die, his excuse to finally find peace and move on from this world. I thought that was quite poignant, actually. I think that ending for the character really made sense and was very emotional, even for me, as someone who only saw the show over the course of the past 2 months. I can't imagine. One of my friends who I watched it with, he has been a fan of the show for years, and so I can't imagine how emotional it must have been for him. But following Tommy's death, the funeral scene is pure beauty. The song Hunting the Wren, there was it's a cover, not a cover, it's a different version done for the movie by the same band that did it. I can't recall their name, but it's a beautiful song, and the funeral scene is sort of set to it, and then it transitions into the ending credits. And it is really, truly one of the more powerful endings to a film that I've seen in a while. And obviously, it had 6 seasons of build up to make that work, but it it really it hit me like a truck. I will be completely honest. I almost cried, and it's not often that a movie can do that for me. So I think I gotta give The Immortal Man props for that. Of course, just like the show, this movie is visually stunning in a lot of different ways. That scene that I just mentioned is shot so beautifully, but the set design, the costume design, all of it throughout the series was great. And of course, having the same crew, the movie has all of that down as well. So I'm going to give Peaky Blinders The Immortal Man an 8.4 out of 10, which from what I've seen is kind of on the high end. A lot of people didn't like it quite as much as I did, and I see some of the complaints, like I said, but I really did enjoy this film. And I'm curious to see what all of you thought of it. So let me know in the comments how you liked Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, and I'm going to try to do more video reviews. This is something people have been asking me to do for a long time, and I just never really got around to it. But for new movies, I think I'm going to start doing it. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.